point where no one cares about the V1 anymore. We don't even ask about it because we have so many more protocols that provide way more pressure than the V1 ever would. Jake, how you doing?
This is cool to see because it's not. I was watching the stream a little bit later because it's important to know the questions that people ask that are outside of the ecosystem. Because the main thing with Titanx is the mining thing is primarily a way to fairly distribute supply into the market. So it's a way to fair launch and distribute tokens where everybody has a very similar cost basis depending on how much time they put in, because that's the biggest variable in terms of supply output. The buy and burn exists as a backstop, and then the actual demand, because you make a great point. A buy and burn is literally useless if there is no demand. That's a great point, because that's 100% true. The thing with the buy and burn is it's designed as a backstop mechanism, and you can kind of look at it as a treasury. Like the V1 is kind of like a treasury as a backstop to the ecosystem. But then the thing is, the market has changed a lot since previous markets. So in like 2017, there were very few coins. People had less to pick from. So capital tends to consolidate towards a few coins. Now there's coins launching every day. Hundreds of coins on a Solana, especially Pump Fund. Fucking scam center.
Thousands, 10,000 a day.
It's insane. So this market is different in that people want new things to participate in. The issue that you get then is nothing gets a critical mass of adoption because everybody always wants to jump from the old thing to the new thing, which extracts capital from one thing, puts it in the other thing. So the thing I was trying to solve with Titanx, 80% of the design intention with Titanx is to build on Titanx, and then the 20% is the mining aspect with the buy and burn, designed as a backstop to the protocol. But the main thing I was trying to solve is how do we get people aligned around one thing, one token, so people can still execute that builder bug and have new things, but keep it feeding one central thing instead of it all diluting each other and extracting capital from each other, which is kind of like the build on Titanx ethos. So what did you guys talk about before this? Because I only catched up on the last 5 minutes because I saw you were streaming.
We were just sort of doing the intro to the entire system, and we were kind of focusing on the buy and burns and the protocols and where we are now in terms of how much pressure there is and why it is deflationary even though it's not capped.
Yeah, my whole thing was my whole question, because I like I mentioned to Mo, I didn't really do much research on Titanx purposely before this stream because I wanted to hear it from you guys. And like my whole thing is like I'm quite active in the PulseChain community, but I'm not a maximalist by any means. I've been in crypto since 2014. I'm invested on multiple chains, and as I mentioned tomorrow, I've been through multiple evolutions of the industry, as you mentioned, right? You know, we started off with Bitcoin as this, you know, new financial system, you know, fuck the banks, no governments, blah blah blah. That's what got me into cryptocurrency. That's what was interesting to me. And then we evolved when Ethereum came out to ICOs and shitcoins and all this new technology that was solving problems that don't even exist. And now this is my third cycle that I've been through, and it's changed now to, like, let's be real here, it's meme coins and communities that are the thing that people are coming in for. They want to belong to something. And I know you guys have got quite an active community, but like for me, like I mentioned to Mo, I don't care about the tech, because the tech to me is just marketing. I don't care about PulseChain being a faster, cheaper Ethereum. That's been done before multiple times. It's irrelevant in my view. I don't think anyone cares. Anyone with real money does not give a damn about a cheaper, faster Ethereum. The whales and the idle money is on Ethereum. It's not on these other chains. Like even these new chains that are coming up, like AVAX and Sui and stuff like that. Like I don't even think those are viable as well. Like they're pumping at the moment for whatever reasons, but the real money is in Ethereum and Solana, and it's right now it's there for mainly meme coins. Same with Hex. I don't care about T-shares. If I'm an outsider, I'm not buying Hex because of T-shares. Nobody outside the ecosystem is going to buy into Hex because of T-shares or staking. Let's be real here. They're going to buy it because of green candles, right? So why would my question is how are you guys going to bring in outsiders into the Titanx community if they don't care about the tech, quote unquote?
The main thing is that's a good question. So the way Titanx is designed, so there's a couple ways where it will go, but where it is now, it's the L1 within the L1, so it's a token that everything uses. Like, for example, we have a new protocol that launched from a community builder. His name is Steve, that has been in the top 5 of Ethereum for 3 weeks straight. Since launch, it's only like 22 days old. And it's only been green candles. It's a 45 million market cap. It started at zero tokens. The only way to participate in all these build on Titanx protocols is by having Titanx. The same way that people that participate in Ethereum, they buy Ethereum just to get into the protocols on Ethereum. It's the exact same thing, just that they have to buy Titanx to participate in all these protocols. So I call it programmed demand. It's people need the token to participate. They don't need to want it. They get it as a proxy of participating in all these protocols, similar to people buy Ethereum to participate in the Ethereum protocols. So they don't even think about it as an Ethereum position. They just want to get into the damn protocol, so they end up buying Ethereum. That's where the demand of Titanx comes from all these build on Titanx protocols. And then we have plans to go omni-chain. So now we're the L1 within the L1, which is Titanx on Ethereum. And then the plan is to take Titanx through layer 0 and essentially become the L1 within all the L1s, and then eventually consolidate into an L2 that uses Titanx as the gas token. So that's why it's very important to know that the mining is just a way to fair launch a token into existence, build a big community, give everybody a fair opportunity, and then the actual demand side comes from the build on Titanx, essentially.
Yeah, it's funny you put up the Vault chart because that caught my eye recently. Obviously, the green candles, right? Like that's a great way to bring adoption. Like, people love buying green candles. They hate buying red candles. They love buying green candles. So Vault caught my eye, and it was trending on Dex screen. I think this was like a couple of weeks ago when I saw it, and then I realized it was Titanx. So in order to buy Vault, you have to have Titanx, correct?
Yep.
Okay. So yeah, I mean, like, just going back to the whole adoption, right? Like I said, 99% of cryptocurrencies gain adoption through marketing and green candles, right? We know that aside from Bitcoin, I don't really maybe Ethereum, everything else, once we go into a bear market, is going to drop 90%. We know that. I don't care what futuristic technology that you're promising the users, and I'm not talking about you guys, I'm talking about just crypto in general. Bitcoin will drop 70 to 80%, and the rest will Ethereum maybe a little bit more, and then the rest 90% plus. But what's important is what's going to come back the next cycle, because as someone, I think, Jake, you mentioned you've been through multiple cycles. You see a lot of the old coins that used to exist in 2017, they never came back, right? A lot of them just faded out. They exist still on the blockchain, like everything does, but there's only a handful that have multi-cycle bull runs. Ethereum being one of them, BNB. That you have your what I call the blue chips, right? Even like if you look at Hex it dropped 99% and it hasn't really come back. Like, if you look at Hex on Ethereum, it's still down massively. Yes, I know there's a new Hex now on PulseChain, and I think that's going to perform really well this cycle. But even Hex, something like Hex, it never came back because I think the adoption didn't really hold, because there wasn't really that much of an incentive for it to hold. Like staking, for me, I don't really care about staking. I mentioned to Mo, like, if you get in at a good time and you're staking to earn yield, sure, but I don't think staking through a bear market is a good idea. If you can sell out of something in a bear market to buy it back in a couple of years later, I think that's a much better strategy than staking through a bear market, because you don't know how that coin is going to perform in the other cycle. So when it's all said and done in this cycle, let's say it's 2026 and the bull market's finished and everything's dropping, how do you see the whole Titanx ecosystem faring, and people coming back the next cycle, whatever that may be, 2029, let's say? Like, how do you see that coming back? I understand you're saying the mining is only 20% of the ecosystem, or 20% of what matters, but do you think that the community and the adoption is going to be strong enough for people to come back again next cycle?
Yeah, that's a great question. Everything goes down in a bear market, but there was one unicorn in this bear market that only went down 60%, and that was BNB. So one of the things that BNB had that all the other stuff, it went down less than Bitcoin. Like BNB was insane this bear market. And that's because you have Binance essentially buying in the background.
Mm-hmm.
They don't say it, but everybody kind of knows it.
Oh,
it's
yeah,
like an
sure.
unspoken thing. So they essentially have deflationary mechanics in their supply. I'm not sure what the BNB inflation rate is, but it's very low, and they probably outpace it with the buying. That everything goes down in the bear market. So one of the things that I wanted to solve with Titanx is the way you make an old thing new is by building a new thing on top of the old thing. So for example, Phantom was a last cycle coin. That's kind of having a resurgence now because they're switching over to Sonic. So they're making the old thing a new thing by rebranding or building something new on top of it or improving it in some way. And that's enough to re-spark the old community and bring it back. So the build on Titanx is designed to be like all it takes. So let's say Titanx drops 90% during the bear market or 95% during the bear market. It only takes one new build on Titanx project to kick it off again when it comes to community, brings eyes to it. And then once Titanx kicks off, all the protocols that exist now and are built on top of it now will also respark at that point because everything's priced in Titanx. That's the main design mechanic. Just build a new thing on top of the old thing. That makes the old thing a new thing, essentially.
Okay. And you was involved in, not involved, you was invested in PulseChain ecosystem as well, or Hex?
Yep.
Okay. So you kind of thought, you know what, I want to build something. I want to take some of the mechanics from Hex and PulseX and Zen, as far as I understand, to build Titanx.
Well, there's absolutely, people have used this marketing narrative. I've never said it, but there's zero from Hex because the inflation, there's no inflation. The mining, it's basically creation, not inflation, because people pay Ethereum plus time to create their supply. That Ethereum feeds the protocol with the buy and burns, and a part of the staking pool goes to the protocols because they have a big stake, like DragonX, for example. So there actually nothing is really based on Hex. PulseX,
Okay.
the buy and burn, I guess you could compare to it for sure. Because PulseX was like the big buy and burn. Use trading volume, use it to buy and burn the token. That was a brilliant idea. The thing I liked about Zen was the fair launch. The only thing I didn't like was that in a perfect world, the gas token on PulseChain would have been Hex, and PulseX would buy and burn Hex.
Mm-hmm.
I've never understood the purpose of having multiple tokens except for maximum value extraction by running a second sacrifice or a first sacrifice. So I wanted something where everything could feed back into one thing, which is why our design is to build on top of Titanx, then take Titanx Omnichain, become the L1 with all the L1s, and then use it as a gas token with our own L2 on Ethereum. That's like long-term, definitely not short. But I wanted to be everything to feed back into one token because as a user, because I was purely an investor in crypto, I never had any intention of building. I had the idea, but never the intention. But then I got so pissed off that I had to go chase coins around because you have to sell down one to get into the other. And I just wanted to have one thing where I can be like, okay, I can hold this for years. I can build my position. This can be part of my wealth portfolio. And everything that just builds in the future should support this one thing. That way I don't need to go run around chasing, selling down one thing to get into the other thing because then it becomes cannibalizing instead of symbiotic.
Yeah.
So that would have been perfect.
I'm assuming that you didn't build on PulseChain because of the whole bridging over thing. You just wanted to be on the main chain, which is Ethereum.
There were a lot of reasons. One is low volume. Two was bridging, takes 30 minutes. And the third one, IPFS. That's a massive adoption gap.
Yeah.
The main thing was volume. And also, if we want to expand out, if something does not bridge back to Ethereum, it's essentially considered dead. The only one that survived that is not bridged to Ethereum is Solana. So Ethereum is like the lifeblood of crypto, or at least for ERC20s and tokens. So I wanted to start on Ethereum. People are building over on PulseChain now with Pulsar. So Pulsar is bridging Titanx to PulseChain and creating essentially the build on Titanx over on PulseChain by mimicking the pools. It's a relatively complex protocol, but they're trying to link the two L1s together. So there are ways to go out once you're in Ethereum, but Ethereum should always be the core.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, the main thing with PulseChain, so you had the bridging thing, low volume, because it was like 3-4 million volume by the time Titanx launched. And then the other thing was, it's a very, as a builder looking at PulseChain, it's a very aggressive environment, because all it takes is for Richard Hart to come out, start complaining about builders again, and everybody sells all of their stuff to get back into RH stuff on the chain. That's one thing. The other thing is 95% of the tokens are owned by one guy. So if you want to launch a fair launch ecosystem on PulseChain, it's not the right foundation to build it on, because it's building a fair thing on top of a generally unfair thing, because 95% is owned by one guy. So that's why you ended up picking Ethereum to do it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, a lot of those points are very valid, but the 95% owned by one guy, I don't think that's really a risk. As like, if we know Richard Hart didn't dump any of the hex that he held from the previous OA wallet, right? And if he decided to sell any of his PulseChain or PulseX or hex on the new chain, it would completely destroy the project and his reputation. So I get what you're saying, but I don't think it's that really makes it an unfair launch. Because I just look at that supply as dead. Like I don't believe Richard Hart will ever sell it. But I have my criticisms of PulseChain. I think the ease of onboarding, I think that's important for adoption for retail, especially the new people that are coming into crypto. And that's why Solana is great. Like, people hate on Solana, and I get it. It's centralized. It's sometimes it doesn't work. But as far as ease of use and onboarding, you can't beat it. Fees, cheap fees. Same with Ethereum. Okay, the fees might not be great at some points, but you can buy it on any exchange. It's very, very easy. So the whole like bridging to PulseChain thing, I'm not too keen on. And I agree with the whole, Hex could have been a gas token. That could have been interesting. But my as I explained to Mo earlier, my main reason for getting into Hex and PulseChain, and I didn't sacrifice. I DCA'd in after the SEC news because I don't like uncapped pre-sales with no vesting periods. That's not something I'm interested in. I've done a lot of SAFTs in the previous cycle, and got in private, and kind of saw how that whole game works and how it's very rigged against retail. And even though you can say PulseChain doesn't have VCs, whales were able to get in at half the SAC price, basically, because they got that 50% bonus for having a certain amount. And you don't really know when they're going to dump, and there's no vesting periods. So I wouldn't compare it to VCs, but there is some similarities there, and that's what turned me off of the sacrifice. I always knew I was going to get into it, but I thought after launch I'll get it at a better price. I got it at a much better price than I thought because of the SEC news. But my main reason I'm invested in that ecosystem is the cult community. They're solid. I mean, some of them are down ridiculoly on their investments, and they're still shilling. Like, a lot of people would get pissed off and dump and leave, but I've seen such strength from the PulseChain and Hex community that's the main reason I'm in it. So what's your thoughts on your community as far as Titanx? Because I see a lot of you guys. I said to Mo earlier, I thought you guys were on PulseChain at first, because I see a lot of people that in your community are also in the PulseChain community too. So at first I thought it was a PulseChain project. I didn't realize that he was actually on Ethereum. But what's your thoughts on your guys' community?
Yeah, that's a great point. Cool communities are basically the That's one of the biggest things to look for in this cycle, for sure. Because the only reason, like for example, you have meme coins that hold $1 billion market caps with 0 buy and burn, and it's just because they have cool communities. That's the only reason they exist and keep existing. So yeah, PulseChain has that cool community, which is why, like, even a lot of the PulseChain builders are coming over to Titanx to build on Titanx, and then somehow kind of like link PulseChain to it to get adoption to PulseChain. So people are trying to link the communities together, which is interesting to see. The cult side, I guess you could say that's there in Titanx, because one of the biggest ways you can see if people, because you can replace the word cult with passion.
Mm-hmm.
The reason people have passion for Titanx, the biggest indicator is that people are willing to put their money up to build protocols, because there's no sacrifices, no ICOs. The only way they make money is through something called a Genesis allocation, which is coded into Titanx, where they get 3 to 8% of whatever comes into the protocol. So it's very similar to building a company in the real world, where you put the money up front, you build the company, you start the LLC, etc., and then you make money once you start selling a product. So a lot of the builders in Titanx, they fund the protocol out of pocket, 20, 30, 50, like Titanx was 150K to build. Didn't raise any money for it. I paid it out of my own pocket. And then 30, 50K in audits, it was triple audited. So the builders are willing to go out of pocket, tens of thousands of dollars to build protocols, $20,000 to do audits on it, to then not even know if they're going to make money. And we have 15 to 20 of these builders in less than a year. So that's a big, big indicator for passion, that people are willing to go out of pocket to support a community to potentially earn something in the future, but it's not guaranteed at all. So we have early signs of a very, very passionate community. So we're going to have to see how that turns out.
So if someone wants to build a protocol on Titanx, there's no, like, obviously there's no foundation that will fund them. They have to fund it themselves. But you're saying they earn 8% from what comes into the ecosystem through their protocol?
Yep, and they decide themselves. Some do 2%. Like for example, Titanx is 3%. Everything I build is 3%. Some do 5%, some do 8%. Like 8 is like the social consensus max on what like is socially acceptable, basically. But yeah, it's basically performance-based incentive. Because the way one thing I didn't like about PulseChain was, for example, there was a loaning protocol that launched that raised $50 million from the community, and then only had $2,000 in liquidity. Where the fuck did the rest of that money go?
Yeah,
and that's the shit I hate seeing.
Yeah, no, there's been a lot of the sacrifices, like loan being the most notable one. 50 million raised. Where's the money? The token. Like, at least buy some of your token back. Like, do a buyback for your token. Like, it's terrible. And then, there's a couple other protocols that done sacrifices. They have better products and they didn't raise as much, but still, I'm not a fan of the whole sacrifice. I didn't sacrifice for PulseChain or PulseX. I would never sacrifice for anything else on there. But how you're doing it though, it's kind of like an multi-level marketing. You're incentivizing people to bring more users and build. So you're incentivizing, hey, come build on here, and you earn a percentage of whatever you bring in, and then you incentivize those people. It kind of. And I'm not saying this in a negative way, because some multi-level marketing are sustainable. And obviously there's some that aren't, right? So some people might view what you guys are doing as like an MLM. So how would you explain to them or alleviate their concerns and prove to them that it's actually a sustainable system?
So I guess the way you could think of it, because I've never looked at it from the lens of like an MLM, because all the protocols are self-funded. Like for example, if somebody starts, because the MLM works because it's a pyramid and goes back to the top. So when somebody builds on Titanx, I guess you can consider Titanx the top, but since Titanx is community owned, it's fair launched. Like for example, if 0 Ethereum participated in Titanx mining, 0 tokens would exist. Not even a liquidity pool would exist. So it doesn't funnel back to one person, because when people build a protocol, they get the genesis. It's their thing because they built the protocol. It doesn't go back to somebody else. There's no affiliate commissions. There's no onboarding percentages, etc. I'm trying to think of a metaphor on what you could relate it to in the real world. Because the way it works on other chains, like let's use Sui. I haven't looked too deep into Sui, but the way a lot of L1s work is you have a protocol idea, you go to the foundation, you basically get on your knees and beg them for money to go and build your protocol. And then they can say no. And if they say yes, they'll probably also take a cut of your protocol, way more than a 3 or 8%, to go ahead and fund your protocol. So 1, you're giving them your equity. 2, you're begging them for money. And then 3, you made money before you ever deliver the product to the community. So this is basically reversed, where you put the money up front, you put the product, you're the only one that makes money on the product from, let's say, a developer fee or whatever, or Genesis. And then if nobody uses your product, you make $0. And if your product gets adoption, yes, you get money from the adoption, but it doesn't funnel back to somebody else. So I wouldn't consider it an MLM. It's basically a self-incentivized ecosystem of builders that want to support something they're passionate about. It could be an MLM if it funnels back, but it doesn't funnel back in any way. It just supports a token that is fully owned by the community, which is Titanx.
Yeah. So like,
Can I
sorry,
add on to that?
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, just to add on to that, almost all the protocols that are coming out right now have these features built into them in which they're supporting all the other protocols. Like that's a wild thing that started happening. But I mean, every build on Titanx protocol that comes out right now, it's supporting either the system itself, you know, it donates a bunch of Titanx, or it burns a bunch of Titanx, or it's actually going to individual protocols and helping them out. Element 280 is a really good example.
Yeah, so like I know you guys are very focused on like the whole build, right? Come here and build protocols. Now, I explained this to Mo earlier. Like, none of that stuff really interests me because I don't care about tech when it comes to like crypto. Like, I invest to make money. The whole point is getting in early and getting out later. Like when you look at crypto, it kind of is. Like the whole of it is pretty much like the greater fool theory. If you guys are familiar with that, like whenever you sell your bags, you're selling your bags to somebody else who thinks they're getting a good deal, or they think that I'm going to buy this and it's going to appreciate. Where I'm thinking, I sold this because I've made my money and I think this is the top. So I think all crypto, Bitcoin, everything is kind of got that in it. Which I fully accepted when I got into crypto. I understand it. It's maybe not a bad thing, such a bad thing, but I think a lot of not just crypto, you know, stock market too, like, and all of these markets kind of have that built into it, right? But my whole thing, like I invest in things not based off of what that technology does. It's the value of the token. That's all I care about. Is this token going to go up in value, and why do I think it's going to go up in value? That's why I invest in. So if you look at this cycle, you know, the last cycle was the NFTs were like the gateway drug into crypto. The first cycle was Bitcoin. The one after that was Ethereum. Then it was NFTs. People were getting into crypto. They didn't care about Bitcoin or Ethereum. They were buying JPEGs. And this cycle, it's meme coins, right? So the majority of retail that are Gen Z or whatnot, I don't think they care too much about real DeFi. Another buzzword, like a lot of the PulseChain and Hex guys, they talk about real DeFi. I don't think real DeFi matters one bit to retail. Does it matter? Of course. Like you don't want centralization. You don't want to use centralized exchanges, not your keys, not your coins, all of that stuff. But to the average retail Zoomer that's coming in, they want meme coins. They want to be part of a movement or of a community. They don't care about the tech or any of that. So is Titanx looking to launch meme coins or anything that's not protocols, or are you just focused on come and build protocols?
Yeah, that's a good question. So it is definitely a meme coin market. The thing with Titanx is we kind of have this term of kingdom. So you have different protocols within the ecosystem, and one of the protocols is Inferno. So we're kind of building, well, not me, but builders are building a memefi ecosystem within Titanx. One of them is Inferno. The other one it's like an alien coin. It's called Alien X. Then you have Phoenix building on top of memefi, which is more like a real protocol. But we've definitely seen the meme culture come into Titanx. It's kind of like under Inferno. Inferno is like the coin paired with Titanx, and people are building on top of Inferno to kind of create the memefi kingdom and put it on Lockchart. Well, click log. Bottom right. Yep.
Bottom right. Yeah.
It's easier. Yeah, so Inferno is like, for example, the medium of exchange coin within the memefi ecosystem, but memes are definitely coming to Titanx, and they're building out now. So that's the cool thing about Titanx. It can become anything and everything because it's just L1 token. It's like Ethereum. People build on top of Ethereum. It gives Ethereum value. People buy Ethereum. The cool thing about Titanx is it's programmed hyper-deflation. So day 369, what happens in roughly 2 weeks, is basically, so 97.5% of the supply is out now. 2.5% is left to be claimed from miners that were started like during the first 150 days of launch. Once that happens, all these protocols require Titanx. They burn a percentage of Titanx, which essentially makes Titanx hyper-deflationary. So what you create then is, as people participate in all these memes and all the things launched on it, they need to buy Titanx to get it. Titanx gets more scarce every day because as they enter into protocols, it burns a percentage of the Titanx or sends it to the DragonX vault, which then does this whole thing. Then you basically hold a hyper-deflationary L1 style token with all these protocols built on top of it that drive demand and need to get it to participate in all of it. That's the core idea for Titanx. But then the cool thing about Titanx is people can build whatever on it because it's essentially L1 token. So if people want to build memes on it, they can. Like there's like a JKEX meme. It's like a 600K market cap or whatever. That's like a hardcore meme, just a token, and it's paired with it, and that's it. So memefi is a little bit different, where people mint the token with Titanx. Everybody gets a very, very similar cost basis, depending on what time they get in during the protocol. Then the token exists, and it's basically a meme coin that launches fairly, giving everybody a fair opportunity, and then uses the Titanx to buy and burn itself. So it's kind of a meme coin that launches with a backstop. So memes are definitely coming to Titanx, and we're kind of seeing it play out with Inferno, which I'm definitely bullish on. Yeah, if that makes sense. That was kind of all over the place. Yeah, it's my baby pic. Somebody took it. They made a meme coin out of it. That's not a real cigarette, by the way. I wasn't smoking. I never smoked.
Okay. Yeah, I mean that's like something that I kind of look at Hex as a meme coin.
Kind of everything kind of is, right?
Yeah, because I mean, people got to understand meme coins are evolving now. They're not just you can look at things that are non like internet meme culture as meme coins. Like you can look at cults and movements now as quote unquote meme coins. So I kind of look at Hex as a meme coin because of the community and the founder. Like it has that meme coin vibe to it. But it's interesting that, I mean, the PulseChain ecosystem is still very, very small compared to Ethereum or Solana. I invest in meme coins mainly on Solana, but also some on Ethereum as well. And the reason is one of the main reasons is that the amount of money on those chains is just insane. Like you can become a multi-billion-dollar market cap meme coin on Ethereum and Solana quite easily if you have the right people entering and the memes right, the culture's right, the whole lore behind it makes sense. Like one of them that really done well is GigaChad on Ethereum. I believe, is it on Ethereum or is it on Solana? I forget. I think it's on Solana actually. I forget now, but like the whole masculinity and the whole culture behind it started from a meme that someone created, but it's kind of turned into like this movement. So I think there's a lot of really interesting meme coins on Solana and Ethereum, and on PulseChain there's a few that have completely outperformed the core coins. PT, GC being one of them. It's not really meme-ish, but it's kind of a meme coin. It's a narrative. Same with like PDI. It's a fun narrative. It's very unrealistic. I don't believe that it's going to peg to $1 and become a stable coin, but the community behind it believes that, and that's all that matters, right? That the narrative may be unrealistic, but it's a cool, fun narrative. So people are getting behind it, and it's really taken off. What else? There's a few other meme coins that are doing pretty well on PulseChain and starting to gain momentum and outperforming the core coins, which is pretty funny. But again, there's always a risk of Richard Hart stepping in and shitting on any one of them and just destroying it, right? Which is, I don't know if he will do something like that, but there's always that risk there. So I'm kind of wary of following those narratives on PulseChain, because there is, if, for example, the PDI crowd, right? I love how enthusiastic they are. I hold PDI myself because I think the narrative is fun. I don't believe it, but just like I don't believe that SPX is going to flip the stock market, but I'm heavy into SPX on Solana because I love the whole movement behind it, right? I know it's not going to flip the stock market, but it's going to do well because of that movement. So with the whole PulseChain meme coin ecosystem, it's growing, but it doesn't have that massive money sitting there to flood into it. Like, there is a lot of money on PulseChain sitting in Richard Hart's wallets or sitting in his Ethereum wallets that quite possibly could come over, but we know they're going to go into the core coins. So the whole meme coin thing on PulseChain is interesting, but it's not quite there yet. The few that have done really well, like UFO, PTGC, PDI, I think will continue doing well as long as Richard Hart doesn't put a stop to that. But so meme coins launching on Titanx. Now, what you just showed me with the whole MemeFi thing, do you think that is what is going to bring enough adoption from the meme coin crowd outside of Titanx ecosystem on Ethereum, or do you think most of the adoption is going to come from the protocol side?
I think it's going to be a combination of both. Definitely a combination of both. Because, like, for example, when Volt launched 23 days ago, I think, that brought in a lot of new users into Titanx. I guess you could call it green candle marketing. Even you noticed it.
Yeah.
Like, what the fuck is this Volt thing? Yep. So every protocol speaks to a different person. MemeFi will speak to a certain person. Because if it's the L1, like, for example, people hold Ethereum because people know people will build on top of Ethereum. Sometimes it's deflationary with high gas fees. Right now it's kind of like going in between inflationary and deflationary. But people hold Ethereum because people know they need it. It's a utility token that people need to use to engage into the ecosystem of Ethereum. It's the gas token. Titanx is a very similar narrative to that. And it just depends on what people build on it. Like recently Ouroboros launched, which is ORX, which is a much, much, much better version of Liquidity. So people are going to be able to lend against all of their build on Titanx assets that have deep liquidity pools. So I think above $3 to $5 million in liquidity. So we have this whole DeFi ecosystem building around Titanx to support the core and give people all the things they need. Like we also have pull up Titan Farms, Titan Farms.win. So we have a farming ecosystem built on top of Titanx, which includes all the tokens. We have a lending protocol coming. We have MemeFi building out. And I think the main thing that is so attractive about Titanx now is just it's a massively experimental playground for DeFi tokenomics, because all the builders are kind of like picking from each other, like, oh, damn, he did this, and then they try to combine things together. So it's a very builder-friendly ecosystem to try out new tokenomics. Volt is kind of a combination between an auction protocol that they built before and something else in the ecosystem. And they kind of combine it together, and now you have Volt, which is a 50 million market cap in 23 days. So the thing is, like, you never really know where the ecosystem will go. MemeFi is being built out now, primarily by the Blaze team, which is like a builder team and build on Titanx. It's going to be interesting to see where it goes, but memes are definitely becoming a part of the ecosystem. And that's the cool thing. It can become anything and everything, because the plan is also to make Titanx a gas token on a chain and then have a DEX that buy and burns Titanx. So we don't need a new token for the DEX. We can just buy and burn Titanx like we wanted it to be over on a PulseChain. There's no end to it. It's basically just an L1 token and people build on it.
How decentralized is the token distribution in the sense of whales, what percentage of the supply they hold versus the rest of the holders? Because that's a big thing for me anyway. When I look into projects, I do some chain analysis and I can kind of see, okay, with Solana, for example, like I know who some of the big guys are and what their wallets are and what they're holding, which is not actually a negative, because you can kind of foresee which tokens to get into, because you kind of know, okay, these are the guys that pushed WIF up and this other meme coin, and they were in Doge, and now I know that they're buying this and this and this. So, you can kind of see what they're in, but then there's always the risk of, all right, once the music stops, as in like once these whales have got what they wanted and they get out, there's always that risk. So how decentralized is the ecosystem?
That's a good question. So all the tokens that were created by users that mined. If no users mined, zero would exist. So it's fair launched. But when you look at the holder distribution, this is something very interesting, and it's extremely unique to Titanx. 20 of the top 100 holders on Titanx are smart contracts or protocols. They're not even users. And protocols can't dump. So 20 of the top whales in Titanx are smart contracts. And then the biggest whale, I'm looking on Etherscan now, the biggest whale, so there is one Genesis wallet that holds 12% of the supply, but that's very transparently communicated. That's to support the build on Titanx ecosystem protocols as a backstop similar to buy and burn. Will never hit the market, and people can see it on chain. It has never hit the market. But then the actual, like a big user whale, that's one with 2.4 trillion, and he owns 2% of the supply. That's the biggest whale, 2.4% of the supply, and then it goes down from there. And on the top 20, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13 of the top 20 holders on Titanx are smart contracts. That's interesting, right? 13 of the top 20, that's insane. Yeah, and the biggest whale is 2.4%. And the rest is under 0.5%, essentially. There's a couple above 1%, and then it goes down to 0.6, 0.5, 0.4%. So it's very, I would consider it very well distributed.
Cool. Question for you, Jake. Do you still hold any of the PulseChain or coins? Are you still in the PulseChain ecosystem?
No, I'm not.
You're
Because
completely
I've
out.
seen, I've seen this play out with SEC attacks on XRP, and I was like, I don't want to be part of this because this is going to take years to play out. So I know that to better allocate capital.
Right. No, for sure. The whole the SEC court case is definitely going to take years to play out. I wouldn't compare it to XRP because I think they had a stronger case against XRP being a security than they do against Hex and PulseChain, to be quite honest. But I agree on the whole court case being dragged out. But do you really think that will stop? I know it will slow adoption, but do you think it will stop PulseChain and Hex having a good cycle this cycle?
It depends. The thing with the PulseChain ecosystem now, it heavily relies on Richard Hart coming back.
100%.
Because it's a community. Yeah, it's a community that was essentially created around, for lack of better words, a God complex. Like this one guy is so smart, he runs the ecosystem, we trust him and his vision. And now after that's gone, it's kind of like the community is reorganizing and trying to restructure itself. And it's very toxic currently. So it's going to be interesting to see if it can survive without Richard. I would expect him to come back at some point. At that point, yeah. unless the community can restructure in a way where they're friendly to builders, that's going to be a big one. Because the way you bring adoption to a chain is to be builder friendly. But right now, if anybody builds on PulseChain, they usually get attacked because the community sees it as an attack on the RH tokens.
Yeah, I
It's
mean,
going to be
I
interesting
think,
to see it play out.
yeah, I haven't really seen anything being built on PulseChain that isn't grifty, if you know what I mean. Like the loan protocol, I actually like the protocol itself. I think it's a good idea, but the 50 million sacrifice, like, come on, guys, you don't need 50 mil to build the loan protocol, right?
Man, yeah, and it's a fork of liquidity. Man, I can afford that thing for 20K.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's
I'm not a developer, but I've worked in enough companies that have built protocols within the blockchain space since 2018 19. So I understand to a certain extent how things work. So as soon as I saw it, I knew like it was quite cheap to fork that and build that. It was quite cheap. So I was expecting more from them as far as like what they've done with the money. And there isn't really anything, like I said, I'm not big on the tech anyway, but there isn't really anything built yet that is game changing. Like you said, people tend to attack it if it's not a core coin, which I don't really understand. Like, you know, innovation is innovation. If someone builds something innovative, it should be celebrated, not attacked, because that's like attacking something on Ethereum because Vitalik didn't build it. That doesn't happen. Like that just doesn't happen. So that shouldn't happen on PulseChain too. So I get that, and I do think Richard Hart does play a big part in the success of the ecosystem. Like if he comes back, which I think he will at some point, the problem is he doesn't have anything to brag about right now. What's he going to live stream about when everything that he's launched at the moment is under sack price? Now, when things start moving again, I do see him coming back and live streaming. I think that will boost the ecosystem. But I think a lot of people on PulseChain are relying on Richard Hart buying the coins, which that shouldn't be why you shouldn't rely on that. Is it a possibility? Yeah, I think it's quite a high possibility because of how he done it with the original Hex. But it's not a guarantee. So that shouldn't be why people are holding the coins. That's kind of been a criticism of the community that I've had. I'm just like, everyone is expecting this. Like, I hear people say PulseChain's going to flip Solana, and I'm like, flip it how? Like, market cap size? Okay, but what's the real market cap of PulseChain if 95% is in an OA wallet, never to be used? That, you know, flipping the market cap of Solana can be possible, but really the real market cap of PulseChain should exclude the OA wallets. And then at that point, is it really possible to flip Solana? Like, I hear a lot of these fallacies about PulseChain, and it's going to be better than Ethereum. Well, just because it's faster and cheaper doesn't mean it's better than Ethereum. Doesn't mean people are going to adopt it. Multiple people have forked Ethereum and made it faster and cheaper, and no one's adopted it. So, like, I don't think people should be investing and holding PulseChain coins because of those reasons. Yes, it's real DeFi, but the retail care about that? Not really. They want meme coins. So yeah, I think a big part of it, and why I mean, I'm still very bullish on it. Don't get me wrong. I'm very bullish on PulseChain and PulseX and Hex, because I do think Richard Hart is going to beat the court case. When that is anyone's guess. I don't think it's going to be dismissed.
You don't think if let me interject for 1 second. You don't think if Trump wins and he fires Gary Gensler, then they just sort of wash it all away? You think they still stick to it?
Yeah, I mean, I hope Trump wins. I can't vote because I'm not a US citizen, but
yeah.
I'm rooting for Trump to win. only because of not only, I shouldn't say only because I think Kamala Harris is a terrible candidate. I think the US under a Democratic party will further go down the drain. So I do think there needs to be a change. And one of the main reasons I like Trump is because he's bullish on crypto. It will definitely help the markets. And let's say he does fire Gary Gensler. I think it will weaken the case against Richard Hart, even though I think it's weak as it is.
Right.
What the SEC are doing, they do this anyway. They make up laws that don't exist and rules that don't exist as they go along to suit them. I think the Howey test, the whole Howey test, is played out now. The SEC have done that too many times. It's it's like if you keep on doing the same thing, it gets weaker and weaker. And the whole Howey test argument, I think, is getting really played out now. So I don't think they're going to get him on the Howey test and the security. I don't think the whole money misappropriation of funds is going to hold any weight, because as far as I believe, and correct me if I'm wrong, what the SEC said Richard Hart used when they said he used sacrifice funds to buy the diamond and the Lamborghini and the Rolexes, the receipts that they have, the dates on them was before the sacrifice, if I'm not mistaken. So if that's true, I'm not 100% on that, but that's what I've heard. If that's true, that whole thing falls apart. The whole misappropriation of funds, user funds, is just gone. And then that leaves the whole, is it a security, is it not? Which I don't believe they can prove it's a security, but can they drag it on? Yes. Will the firing of Gary Gensler speed up the process? Maybe. It definitely weakens the case, because I think he was he spearheaded the whole case for the SEC against Richard Hart. So, I think that case is going to fall apart eventually. And I think Richard Hart's going to come back and stream. And I do think he's going to use some of the funds that he makes from his Ethereum purchase to inject into the ecosystem. So, yeah, that's my whole thoughts. I've got a question for you guys, actually. What are your thoughts on this? Richard Hart buying the Ethereum local top. What's your thoughts on that? Because I've heard theories, and I don't know if they're true or not. But what's your theory on that, guys?
I think he was too bearish for too long. That was his issue. Too bearish for too long. Oh yeah, because this is not to say I'm a better price caller than Richard Hart, but I called the Bitcoin bottom 2 months in advance publicly in the mastermind and on YouTube. I did a live stream on it on the exact date. He was too bearish for too long. That was the issue, because even when Bitcoin went from 15K, 18K-ish to 30K, he was still calling for lower. He was basically calling it a death cap bounce. So that was his issue. He was too bearish for too long. Because when you follow the cycle theory, it bottomed exactly when it should have bottomed. And then the FTX collapse was the perfect scenario for a perfect bottom. Like any other cycle. At the bottom of every cycle, something collapses, and FTX was this cycle. Yeah. I don't like pocket watching other people's wallets, but it definitely wasn't a good look.
Right. I mean, I definitely think he was bearish for too long, but I don't do you actually think that he wasn't buying Ethereum beforehand with his own funds? Because
maybe
I remember the exact time he made that purchase, because I am a trader to a certain extent. Like, I used to trade. I don't trade too much anymore, but I'm always watching the markets. And I remember vividly watching Ethereum it was on the brink of a breakout that probably would have moved it 20% in price. And I've always thought that Richard Hart was probably thinking the same thing, because anyone that understands technical analysis was looking at the Ethereum chart when he purchased that Ethereum, thinking, if this thing breaks, it's a 20% move. And I think that he just made a bad trade. Like, he thought he was going to catch that 20% move, and it reversed. But I've heard all kinds of theories. You know, people love to put on their tinfoil hats,
Yep.
and I've heard all kinds of theories that maybe he was buying with his own money beforehand, and he created that top, and then he sold, and then he was selling on the way up, and then he bought with a SAC fund, all these kind of things, which I personally think is ridiculous. But
isn't it kind of funny that they do that with your sort of hero, and your hero makes maybe a mistake, but we're going to spin this into how it's a genius move that he did. Like,
yes, it's
maybe he just made a mistake.
I mean, I wouldn't call it a mistake. No matter what, he's going to be up on
But
that.
like you were saying, it maybe he missed
buying Bitcoin from like 60K all the way down, and then all the way back up, and he's net positive on his trades, right? So I wouldn't say it's a mistake, maybe a bad trade, but in the long run, he's gonna make money on that.
Right.
Let's switch topics, because like the thing with our age and stuff, I don't like focusing on stuff that's out of our control, because then I don't know, it just feels weird. It feels like you're out of control of your life when you just focus on one person. Or what is this person gonna do? That's the thing I like about building, is you take control of your own destiny essentially. So what else do you guys want to touch on?
Feels like speculating on the Super Bowl in the preseason. We're not even there. Let it happen. We'll talk about it after. That's what talking about future things is sometimes to me. It's like, let's wait till it actually happens, then we'll talk.
How many holders does Titanx have?
17,820-ish, if I remember correctly.
Pull it up fast.
And have you looked into like how many are actual unique holders and not just multiple wallets?
Yep. Yeah, you can assume. I think a good thing to assume is you just divide it by 2, because some people have 5 wallets, some people only have 1 wallet. So if you divide it by 2, like 9,000, 10,000 active, seems pretty normal, something like that.
It says we have 13.7 thousand unique users.
And you're
and if you divide it by 2,
so divide that by 2, and you're more realistic, unique users, and a project that's a year old, about a year old,
roughly. Yeah, that's the crazy thing. And then you have projects like DragonX, for example. So DragonX was, I think, the first Titanx project that launched. It's at an $82 million market cap with only 3,000 holders. It's quite interesting.
So what project in your ecosystem do you think is going to be the first to reach $1 billion market cap?
That's a good question. I can't answer that as a founder. What do you think, Mo?
I would have always have said DragonX, but Steve's cooking up some magic, man. I don't know. Maybe Steve ends up being the I'm talking about the guy who made Volt. I'm sorry. Sometimes I talk like everybody knows what I'm talking about. The guy that made Volt has a lot more planned on it. It's been the biggest fire in the ecosystem so far. So who knows? Maybe Volt's the wild card and takes it. I would have always assumed it was going to be DragonX, because DragonX is the big backstop of the entire ecosystem, the big sort of guardian angel. I'll say DragonX.
So as a founder, Jake, obviously there's no foundation, but when people come and they want to build, you're not funding it, but are you giving them any kind of tools to help them?
Yeah, so we have the build on Titanx ethos, which is a kind of ethos to follow if you want to be symbiotic to the ecosystem instead of cannibalistic. And then from there, the cool thing about builders is they get instant marketing, instant community adoption. Like, for example, Volt had 13 trillion Titanx go into it, roughly. That's almost $18 million in 23 days. So they have the capital from the community if they follow the ethos, and then they get full builder support. So sometimes they help with game theory, but all the building actually happens from them. They do all the building. We also have a dev agency in our community that spawned out of the community. It was the Blaze team. A lot of people came to them to start building stuff, so now they started a dev agency so people can come to them with their white paper to build on Titanx, and then they use their developers and infrastructure they already have since they build multiple things in the ecosystem. So there is a very big support network for builders. Because if somebody announces themselves as a builder, everybody just wants to help. Streamers want to stream with them. The builders want to help them build, which has been awesome to see.
Okay. I've got about 5 minutes left, guys. I've got to leave. But a question unrelated to the actual technology or the actual blockchain is, Jake, where's your accent from?
That's a good question.
If
you can get that out of him, good Lord, we're going to send you a fucking tip.
It's got like a Scottish twing, like tinge to it, like Scottish with some other European country. Am I close?
So when I grew up in school, I learned English because I had an Irish friend in school and an American friend. So I learned my English from an Irish guy and an American guy, which is why I have this weird ass combination of accents.
Okay.
That's hilarious.
Where are you from originally?
Hey, I'm from the moon. Offsec, baby.
You ain't getting shit out of him.
Okay, fair enough. But yeah, I couldn't quite put my finger on the accent. I was like, is it Scottish? Is it Irish? Is it like, I don't know. Like
it's a big debate in the community. Someone's going to make a lottery protocol, and it's going to be one on whoever guesses where Jake is actually from.
Yeah, you got here's an idea for someone to build on. You should do like a poly market kind of protocol, betting protocol. There you go.
That's a good idea.
Any builders out there? I want 1% for the idea.
Well, I'm telling you, man, everyone's in the chat being like, if Panos builds something, I'm in. So
I'm not a builder, guys.
They all say that.
I have good ideas. I have good ideas, and I like investing. I'm an investor, man. I let the smart guys do the building. I just invest in things that I believe in long term. I think Titanx is interesting. Like again, like I'm getting into things that I like the community around, and I think that are diamond-handed holders. I don't care about tech, like I said. So I mean, it's interesting. I enjoyed speaking to both you guys about it, because I literally knew nothing, not nothing, but very little about the whole ecosystem before getting on this live stream. I see the community on X are very passionate, and I hope there's more crossover between the PulseChain community and Titanx, because there's a lot of similarities, and there's a lot of crossover as far as community members that have come over or crossed over. So yeah, I keep doing what you guys are doing. I again, like, thanks for having me on and answering all the questions, and nice to meet you, Jake. I didn't even know, to be honest, I only saw a couple of days ago who the founder was, and I followed you on X. I didn't know who you was before, but thanks for joining and answering all the questions. You know, I like to play devil's advocate. That's why I was trying to like poke holes in things. I'm not doing it in a bad way or anything. Just genuinely curious. But yeah, it's been a great live stream. And
maybe I have a question.
Maybe do this again.
Yep. Your name is 100% based on Thanos, because I just pulled up a picture of Thanos and you look like him with the mighty beard and shit. So you did it on purpose, right?
No, that's my name.
Is that your name?
Yeah.
That's a cool ass name.
Oh, shit.
I like it.
That's perfect.
Yeah, it's got nothing to do with.
Because you look like Thanos.
You're talking about Thanos from God of War, right?
No, Thanos from what is it? Marvel, from Marvel.
Oh, Marvel.
Yeah.
So I get that, and then I get people call me the guy from God of War. I forget that guy's name as well. Look at the video.
Yeah, that's Thanos. You're right.
He is Thanos?
I actually knew that one. Yeah.
Okay.
I actually knew that one. I played that game a lot.
Yeah, but there's no crossover between that and my name. That's my name. I just happen to look that way. So, but
I mean, I appreciate you coming on. I appreciate you letting me, kind of talk to you about Titanx. You were super cool about just, all right, someone tell me about this Titanx. And then I immediately commented, hop on a stream and we'll talk. And then I immediately canceled on you. So I appreciate you for being such an awesome guy, man.
No, it's all good.
Yeah. Appreciate you very much.
You exactly. You look like Kratos from God of War.
Kratos,
100%.
that's
Oh,
it.
Kratos.
Yes,
Yep.
Damn it.
Kratos. Yeah.
All right, I got it wrong.
All right, guys. Enjoy the rest of your day, and we'll chat soon.
Thank you, sir.
Take care.
I appreciate
Bye-bye.
you. Thank you. All right, I got to pull up this one comment. I pulled it up earlier, but it took up half the screen. But it's like the most dedicated comment I've ever seen in YouTube. Oh, so DeFi Degen, I appreciate you, man. That's a hell of a comment. Where the builders of smart contracts are, there is value. DeFi builders desire real DeFi, long-term stability, and a supportive community, which Titanx provides. Automated buy pressure and smart contracts act as the largest whales, continuously buying, burning, and staking in a hyper-deflationary financial ecosystem to create stability. Everyone can build, audit, present to the community, launch, and incentivize using smart contracts by rewarding users with a fair launch while avoiding common issues. I think he ran out of characters on that. I'm going to add that S. That's a damn good comment.
I like it.
I'm sorry I couldn't pull that up in the middle.
No, but this conversation was actually good because I was listening to the conversation. This was good because this is also what I do when I participate in stuff. The first thing I do is I figure out the bad. So he came in with a good questions. These are like basic questions like, hey, is this sustainable? What is this built on? What's the purpose of it? Because we're in the ecosystem. So this was a breath of fresh air to just hear somebody like, go back to basics. What does it look like from an outside user looking in? So these questions are great because we have good answers for all of them. Like Titanx is pretty fundamentally sound and has a good reason for being outside of the community, etc. So that was good. That was a refreshing live stream. It was fun.
Awesome. Well, I try and provide that sometimes. Normally, I just derail shit. Well, I appreciate you coming on, man. That was super helpful, and yeah, hopefully that goes a long way to building support and bridges and communities, and we can keep doing this. Maybe we can have a conversation with someone from another chain pretty soon. That'd be awesome.
Man, I had some crazy ideas today because I finally had some time to breathe. Oh man, I've been cooking.
Well, now I'm not going to give you time to breathe. All right, what are these some ideas? Come on, you can't do that. Come on, let's go.
Yeah, I was running through the idea of the Titan L2. Man, there's a lot we can do there. A lot. Because I was talking to a Super Shadowy, the guy from Ouroboros. And we were going back and forth on some stuff. It could be sick. It could be absolutely sick. Because what you could do is you could have the... so you know X28 exists on Ethereum, gets created via Titanx. It exists on the chain. You can actually use that as the gas token for the L2. So you can have a gas token that is the L1 within all the L1s, including its own. So and then there's a lot of interesting tokenomics you can do on that. But that idea, I've never seen done before.
Bullish. Good Lord. Keep going.
Oh, when we talk about innovation, nah.
Come on.
I'll keep that. That's like I'll call it a phase 8. That's phase 8.
Once we're the only ones watching, man. Come on. It's just you and me. No one else is going to hear this.
Yeah, so
someone had a question
on a lot of ideas.
Someone had a question on Inferno. Do you know what the percentage was? Is that just something that will vary through time, through conditions?
Yeah, I mean, it also depends on the market cap because when you look at Titan farms, the APR on the pool on Inferno is like 150% a year. Yeah, 123% a year. That's enough. Because like a bigger protocol needs a bigger weight to protect itself, or at least support itself is a better word. Inferno has 123%. That's more than fine. That's more than Volt. You look at the percentage, not the weight.
Yeah. Yeah, 100%. As long as that's, I mean, like, come on. Anything above 10%, get the fuck out of here. Where are you getting that in the rest of life? I mean.
Oh, yeah, man. I love farms. So good.
I have replaced my obsession with PulseX farms and Titan farms has taken it. I have nothing in PulseX farms. I totally thought I was going to reconstitute it, and then y'all launched farms, and I was like, and into farms. Sorry. I'll go back to PulseX.
Yeah, and also with the Inferno pair, since Inferno is not an input token, you also earn the Inferno fee, so it's higher than 122%. It's like 150 plus.
That's a good point.
Even more.
Yeah, you get that, and you get that with ORX and Volt.
Yep.
So if you provide liquidity on Volt Titanx, you will get your Tink token, but you will also get fee rewards in Volt, as well as if you do the Inferno Titanx, you will get it in Inferno. The ORX Titanx, you will get it in ORX. That was awesome. Is there anything you want to talk about? Anything you want to focus on before I go eat breakfast? Because I didn't. I was just wanting to get straight into this and get going.
I've been breathing today, focusing on Shogun, and then just daydreaming about the potential future phase 8.
So Shogun's officially now the hyper-deflationary? Have you decided that that's the name for the hyper-deflation? Okay.
Not decided on yet. There might be a different name, but it's definitely coming.
Don't do this. We had the stream where you were like, yeah, Mike Dean can probably just take it off of Titanx Hub. So I was like, hey, go ahead and take it off. And then you're like, nah, maybe I'm gonna go with it. And I was like, son of a bitch. Mike's like, why'd you tell me to do that? I'm like, why'd you listen to me? Come on.
Man, but that was so funny. I was on there for months, and then the exact day I talk about it, they're like, off. I'm like, what the hell? Oh, that's funny.
Yeah, pretty much. That was my fault. The best intentions, or the road to hell is always paved with the best intentions. I was just trying to help. Bye. Oh man. Okay, so let me ask you this. I got a question because I think maybe you've changed your thinking on it internally. Are you still thinking X28 is at the end of the year, or is it now this reserve whale killer that you're holding?
Both. It would be great if X28 could have the possibility of being a gas token on our own chain as well, just as like an extra. So I'm designing all of that stuff into one. So it's omni-chain and
So X28 will be a gas token?
There's some ways to do it that have never been done before.
It's just us, Jay. Come on, you can tell me.
Now, when the time is right, I'll talk about it. Because right now, I don't want to give people too much. Because whoever wants to get the fuck out before hyper-deflationary, go ahead.
Yeah, all of those guys, go ahead and get out. Don't stay for the good stuff. That's for the rest of us. For the real believers.
So, yes, sir.
All right, man. I appreciate you coming on, sir. 2 hours. I don't know.
Oh, yeah.
That's
One
probably
disclaimer.
good.
All of this video
all the
was hypothetical, not financial advice. Could only consider tomorrow. This is all one big experiment. I would just random dudes on the internet talking about stuff.
I'm pretty sure we're 3 random dudes on different spots in the globe, literally, all just yakking. So we're just a bunch of dudes talking about stuff. But dude, you're killing it. Shout out to you, man. You're jumping on streams all the time. You did 3 hours and 58 minutes yesterday. Nice exit right before that dirty number. It was perfect.
Yep.
But dude, you're killing it. You're jumping on all the streams. You're crushing the engagement. I with all the posts and reposts I'm doing, you fucking even tag half of mine, which is insane because there's thousands of us. So shout out to you, sir. You are literally the most engaged founder I have seen. Appreciate you.
I don't have anything better to do. So why the hell not?
Hey man, we appreciate it. All this energy you're using is going to a good spot. It's going to a no VC, no sacrifice, fair launch crypto place. And we all love you for it.
Appreciate it.
Right, man.
Oh, yeah. And also, Bad Sports is in the comments. The Titanx conference is coming up in 3.8 days. The 26th to the 27th.
3.8 days. Titanx conference. Well, that's a good spot. We'll end there and we'll pop up the video. So guys, watch the Titanx conference video. And remember, Titanx conference is starting on Saturday. The YouTube links are now up. I'll pass it out again as soon as this is over. Jake, last words?
Nope, that's it. Enjoy.